Good evening and welcome everyone back to fractalview.com with Learn It Live. And I'm Dan Winter, as you know, and our guest presenter you see here is Lou Debourbon, coming to you from Santa Barbara in California. I'm going to do a brief intro here and then turn it over to Lou, who's our expert for the evening. The background here, as you'll recall, is at 7arrows.net. We just, oh, hey, Sarah is here. Great. Sarah is our shaman from 7arrows.net. Welcome. Thanks for joining us, Sarah. Great. So the point was that we, even as Sarah, many times, that the concept of inhabiting and embedding in your space, literally taking control of the space around you, quite literally steering the tornado, involved inhabiting, embedding in the cube of space. It turns out that cube of space is a tetra cube, and there are 7 axes of symmetry through the tetra, which is the origin of, as you know, heart muscle and Hebrew alphabets and all kinds of profound stuff, vector flexors. And years ago, actually, I was inspired much in this work by Lou Debourbon, who is here in front of you now. Lou and I have been friends for way too long. It makes us feel old just to think about it.
Seem old, yeah.
Lou is getting younger every day, though, so it's all cool.
Oh, yeah.
So the point was that the way Lou demonstrated he was still young to me so many years ago was he demonstrated his method he called a Tai Chi or a yoga he called caressing the facets of the diamond. And he showed us that if you rotated your Dantan, and he will show you in more detail, in a figure 8 motion, right and left and all the possible axes of symmetry. There's actually 6 different perpendicular figure 8s that make an octa diamond. And Lou showed us how he would do that even on the buses, and he would gain proprioception, and Lou proved to us that he had become, for example, an amazing juggler. I was so impressed. And by doing that, inhabiting the arrows of the cube of space, Lou demonstrated you gain center of gravity, which has profound practical as well as spiritual meaning. And later, of course, Sarah demonstrated how those 7 arrows became a way to shamanically control the space, as it were, steer the tornado. And later then, our partner at the time, Ananda Bosman from Norway, took this, and he did it with the Dantian and the heart and the crown, also called the trinitization of the light body, and it demonstrated amazing, powerful effects. But he started also with Lou Debourbon's work and on rotating in these perpendicular figure 8s. So the point would be that if you actually learn to move your center of gravity with discipline in these axes, you gain all kinds of power and benefit, shamanically, yogically, evolution of the aura, center of gravity, centripetal force, all the cool stuff. So I am very grateful. It's really a lifetime dream of mine to bring Lou back onto the stage and create this little film with Lou summarizing all of that work. He's gathered beautiful information and visuals here. So take it away, Lou. Thank you for coming.
Okay.
Go ahead, please.
Wow, Dan. Thank you so much. Wow. And hello, everybody who's out there. This is new for me. So we're going to keep going. And I guess the best thing to do is start out and say, what is this class about? What am I talking about? What I'm talking about is a very, very simple physical exercise, which you can do probably in 2 or 3 minutes. And you can do it anywhere, anytime. It would be suitable for an elderly person in a wheelchair who is blind. It's pure tactile work, but it is a physical exercise. And what we're going to do is work with the Dantian. Now, the Dantian you can locate measuring 3 finger widths down and 2 finger widths in from your belly button. But I thought I'd read a description of what the Dantian is by Al Chungliang Huang in his Embrace Tiger, Return to Mountain. He talks about Dan means somebody has their microphone on.
We'll just mute that. It's okay. I'll mute that. It's okay. Go ahead, Lou.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. The Dan means Tan means the distilled vital essence and also the rich red color of blood. Tian means field or place. So the Dantian is the field of energy. It's the intrinsic energy. It's the reservoir of your vital force. The Dantian corresponds to the Japanese Hara or the Sufi Kath. Focusing attention on the breathing and the Dantian is a useful way of becoming centered. So how did I get started with this? I think I'll tell you a little bit about how I began this exercise. And let me find the slide here. I had been studying Tai Chi here in Santa Barbara with a Master Ni, and I went to New York for a while to visit my mother. And there was a gentleman there by the name of Zhou Tsenghua in New Jersey who was teaching Tai Chi and Qigong. And so I started taking some of his classes. And he was teaching a class on, it was Tai Chi and Qigong, but mainly Qigong, which is really using breathing and posture, and it's a form of Tai Chi if you want, or elaboration on it. And he had developed a system over maybe 20, 25 years where he would focus on his Dantian, the area we're talking about, and he would breathe in with the sound of hang, and then breathe out with the sound of ha. And he demonstrated that muscle, that area below your belly button, his was expanded maybe a couple of inches. And he was a scholar. He had written books on mathematics when he was in China, and he had studied the traditional information about the Dantian. And there were stories that the originator, Yang, when he was, I think, in jail for a while, he could put a grain of rice on that area while he was lying down and say, ha, and throw it to the ceiling. Well, Zhou Tsenghua developed this ability so that he could do similar things. It was said that Yang would break your fist would be broken if you punched him there. We went to the beach one time, and Master Zhou proceeded to lie down and put a coin on that spot, that Dantian, and he threw it way up in the air. Very impressive. And but said he would go to sleep on a recliner just going hang ha over many years to develop this muscle. So I was riding home and I said, well, I don't have that kind of work for that long. That maybe I could move that spot left and right and up and down. So that is really how this whole thing began. I decided to work on not just that in and out, but side to side and up and down. What I want to do at this point, before I go on and start showing you some models, is jump to the end of my presentation and show you some toys and tools for development of, well, your whole being. And most of it ties into the hands, but it's a lot of propriosensitive stuff too. Because what I want you to do at home, or wherever you are, is to practice the exercises that I'm going to give you. And what has happened to me over the years of doing this is I've been compelled to do more with other things like poi and bounding balls. So I'm going to show you bounding balls first. Now, you may not have any of these at home, but I think you can see them here. These are bounding balls.
You can maximize the video window of Lou right now if you like on your screen. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That might make it easier to see. This is a little game I developed called roundabouts. Taking a set of balls. Now, you always want symmetry. As a matter of fact, symmetry is the key, symmetry and reversal. So this kind of exercise, according to the Oriental thinking, it hits all the acupuncture points and is very beneficial. For me, it's the kind of thing that you can do when you're just watching TV or doing something else. So it's something you could do, but you may not have these at home. So I was going to suggest you might go in your rec room and see if you have billiard balls. They work equally well, and you can use those to do the same kind of thing. Basically, there's going in, going out, going one way, or going the other. If you don't have those, what works well, especially if you have colored ones, are golf balls. You can do when you're touching or when you're keeping them apart so that they don't touch. There's a lot of stuff you can do with these, but it's something you can do while you're doing other things. So if you don't have any of those, you can go into the kitchen, hopefully, and come back with some limes. Limes work really great. They're fairly small, like that. Or mandarin oranges. The point is keeping the hands. If you look at a picture of the homunculus, the way we're mapped out, fully 1/3 of that somatosensory cortex is devoted to the hands. So it's very important to keep the hands limber and flowing. So that's one exercise I hope you can do while you're waiting for, while you're watching the class. The other thing is poi. So I'm going to stand up to show you something, a little bit of poi. And poi is an ancient movement, originated in New Zealand with the Maori, where they'd use a flax bag with a length of rope, and it was to train the weavers and the warriors how to get more control, how to understand, because all of this exercises, all of this work is developing toward the idea of developing more complexity of awareness within your center of gravity. You can think of the Dantan just as your center of gravity. So anyway, the basic moves are pretty simple. Going forward, going back. And you can become aware of your plane, keeping it very precise. Do the same thing with your other hand, right? And even though I'm somewhat restricted, doing them both. Then you can cross over and back. Now, you may not have these at home, so I was going to show you how to make a pair very quickly. Get some socks, stretchy socks, get those limes you had from before, open up the sock, and put it in. And now you've got your poi. And you can practice with this. It's very, very important as a tool for developing your awareness. The other thing I'm going to show you is trays. Either this kind, which is plastic. And what you do with those trays, this is an hors d'oeuvre tray, central part for salsa, is to spin it and keep it going. What you want to do with this exercise is develop an awareness of that lip. You don't want to really try and go to the center because that'll come later. So then by doing that, you can go from hand to hand and ultimately do 4. You may have an aluminum tray. This is an old one I had from way back. I think this is what I started with a long time ago. And just by doing those very perfect circles, you develop an awareness of space, of really, you'll develop a processional awareness and a gravitational awareness. I don't know any other way to do it except with those.
And
anyway,
that is central to our curriculum so far, which was that the center of gravity is a center of implosion or phase conjugation, which is your ability to recursively draw your attention back to the center. So what Lou is saying is these kinesthetic exercises, by increasing your center of gravity, increase your shamanic ability to steer the tornado in general. Very wonderful.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Okay, so this exercise, what I'm going to do now is run you through the whole course. We're going to start with basically a straight line. In this case, we're going to imagine in and out, side to side, and up and down. The best model for that is actually a little jack. You can see forward, back, side to side, and up and down. I'm going to put it on a little nicer display here. Actually, I got to put my glasses back on. Forward, back, side to side, up and down. When I rode on the subway, I'd practice these moves, trying to make it very internalized. And I think I told Dan at the time, if people got up and moved away, I realized that I was externalizing it too much. But as you're developing this ability, you really need to cheat. When I say cheat, it's like, it's sort of hard to get that isolation and learn it right at first. So you might want to move a little bit more of that whole area, forward, back, side to side, just so you become familiar. And you should be doing this at home now. Try forward, back, side to side, up and down. Now, the thing that was very interesting to me was I did this for a while, and I had this spontaneously, these incredible visions of diamonds radiating out from all of the entire structure, as though it was coming from my body. It was like when I closed my eyes, I began to see these diamonds. And for me, I had never had any association with diamonds or didn't have any particular meaning to me. And so I started doing a little what the meaning of that could be. And I pretty soon discovered that if you connect the facets, and fortunately I don't have the model with me right now, then what you do, you've created a diamond. And this, in point of fact, is how I got in touch with Dan Winter. I found Dan Winter that way because of the visions I had of diamonds.
We were working with the tetracube symmetries at the time, and the center of the tetra, 2 tetra, as you know, is an octa.
I don't think I ever looked so much at the tetra. I mean, I think it was from forward, back, side to side. And then I realized, well, of course, that if you connect the points here, then you could have an octahedron. So I never really, as I remember, examined the tetrahedron. I was only looking at the diamond. So what I'm going to be showing a bit of here is that when you take the diamond and you put a box on it, you can see that it fits nicely within the box. And it's really why it's considered a dual among the Platonic solids. If you've got the cube then you've got the diamond and vice versa. And so really this is all crystalline life or material life. I mean, this is fabrication. This is how things work most efficiently from this cube octahedron system. And this is what this exercise is all about, is the cube. Let me see. Yeah, so just to bring it back, that's what we're doing, forward, back, side to side, and up and down. So what I wanted to show now is the gentleman I had been studied with for quite a while here in Santa Barbara, Master Fu Yuan Ni. And one of the interesting things about his Tai Chi, which I'd started, I don't know, when I was 45 or so, was that he would have you start out and do 108 movements to the right, Tai Chi, very slow, 108, and then you start all over again and do 108 movements to the left. So this idea of symmetry, he helped spawn that. But one of the things he emphasized over and over, that you really, in your movements, you don't want to have an abrupt stop and start. You don't want to go to something, stop and come back. You always want to create a circular motion. So because of all of this, I realized, well, just forward, back, side to side, up and down, that's not quite going to hack it. I think I need to put some circles in and go from there. And so that's how I came into the 8. I came into the 8 through this pathway. Now, in order to, well, let me jump back a little bit on this. In order to make it more easily understood, so that I personally could work with it, I developed a coding system for, I think it's on one of the slides there, where I point out that what I'd done was selected some colors to represent the directions. They seem to me natural. They almost seem obvious. And the colors are, and since it's Easter, these are Easter eggs. I'm going to show you what those colors look like. For me to remember, it's a little high. To remember was the movement forward back. I decided to call the doer. The side to side is the dancer, and the up and down is the dreamer. Color to me was white, yang to yin. Blue has always been up, green down, and sunrise to sunset. So this color theme for me works if I'm, as I said, this exercise, you can do it anywhere. You're standing in line at the office or at the bank, and you just can run through it. It's pretty easy to think about this forward, back, up and down, and side to side. If you have more mnemonic aids, at least it works that way for me. So this is my Easter egg display.
That slide you had about the doer was a nice slide. Can you find that?
Yeah, so I was just looking for that.
Just take a minute. Just click on the bottom and then scroll.
Yeah, I am. Let's see.
I think it was the beginning.
Yeah, put it in. Oh, maybe it's all the way at the beginning.
Yeah, it was the beginning of the.
There it is. Set. I see it. Yeah, I made a
nice, very nice.
A video actually, a 3D presentation. I couldn't find it, or as I say, I haven't been doing this stuff for a long time. Well, I didn't say that, but anyway. But this was pictures I took from that a while back. So the doer is the white to black. The dreamer. And notice doorknobs, hourglass, and dumbbell. So let me show you some of those. Again, those help, I think. Huh?
When Sarah was talking about this also, that as you do this sort of 7 arrows or the cube of space, you're getting clear about your relationship between the past and the future. So as you get these directions, like the dreamer, the dancer, that you get a very clear metaphor of what the directions mean to how you're embedding yourself in the cube of space.
Oh, wow. That's very pretty, Nan. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, what we're working towards is this. I don't know if you can see this image, but that's
the octa in the
let me
tetra,
back.
huh?
Oh, no, those are the 7 arrows in the tetra.
Yeah,
but I'll
and everybody knows that we have all these animations at 7arrows.net.
So this is the vertical, the up and down, the hourglass.
That's nice because that also is the metaphor of time in there.
And so it's the dreamer. The hourglass is the dreamer. And then the dancer is the dumbbell, the barbell. And the doer is the doorknobs, opening the door and going in and out. Anyway, those help me to keep track of where I am. But something I think I should do is review what I've been talking about pretty much are these axes. And there is the need to really think about the planes. So, let me show one more. I saw Alex Gray at his equinox a few months ago and showed him some of these models. And I said, the dogs have the best models. And this is a dog toy, of course. Best models are the dogs. Either that or kids, babies have great ones too. Let me throw one more in, which I'm not going to. There it is. There's my super jack. So how do we deal with the planes? I made these models also to try and make it clear. For the planes, I again have all these metaphors. If you think about the plane of the blackboard, or the window washer, so you have this plane that you're up against, going one way, making circles, and going the other way. The transverse plane, this plane, would be like if you were polishing the table, or waxing the floor, or mixing tomato sauce in a pizza. That's the transverse plane. The sagittal plane, the pitch plane, is if you envision yourself as playing the harp, going in, coming out.
Playing the harp.
Playing the harp. So you can imagine yourself right on center, coming slight. In other words, I think that image that I have here that I put up might help with that. Yeah, this one here.
Oh, that's nice. Exactly.
Because thinking just about the axes, about the X, Y, Z, and getting really comfortable with that is one component. The other component is being aware of the planes. Of course, for each one, you know, it's like riding a bicycle. I mean, you can think about all the, or churning the butter. There are a lot of, or driving a screw. This rotational motion going through the planes. So this...
It's worth mentioning here, Lou, that the advanced geobiology schools here in Europe, Jan Lipnik and Stefan Cardinaux, they have people feel the center of gravity on each of these planes, and then they determine how much each of your energy planes is off center, so that you're like your sagittal plane. When you're detached from your center of gravity, you're literally beside yourself, and they measure that distance. So it's literally getting centered on these planes at the center of advanced geobiology as well.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's interesting. Really? Really, because, well, let me go forward. So anyway, this comes to the figure 8. Because now that you have the planes, you can begin to look at, well, let's look at first the side to side. And what you need to do with all of these, and these models too, are for this purpose, is actually imagine in your mind your eye following the pathway. One way and then the other way. So this is the infinity sign. You're working on the blackboard. This way and then back. So instead of just going bong, bong, side to side, we're now doing it as one component as a figure 8, infinity sign. Also, we can think about polishing the table in that same way. So once you've done that, then you realize, well, I've created the scaffolding now, and I can do so much more with it. But this is the basic. I should take some time and ask everybody, are you actually trying this? Are you actually doing this exercise? Anybody?
That's beautiful. Tibetan double dorji also.
Yeah, later on I'm going to show you how actually this all fits in
That's beautiful.
to a Bucky ball. Triple dorji, actually. But I'll be there in a little bit. I want to cover a few other things first. So on a small scale, you can see the same thing. And you can make a model for yourself. But you really need to physically do it. Practice moving that spot, say, up and back and over again, and then reversing it. But try and keep it in the plane. If you're moving, again, imagine you're on the subway and you don't want everybody to get up and walk away. So you're internalizing it. But when you're by yourself practicing it, you can move your hips and wiggle a bit and make it happen so that you actually experience that on that plane. That idea of going side to side, but doing it with a flow. Once you have it, and you've done, say, the way I do the exercise, I'll run through this figure 8, and then this figure 8. Now I have this in my mind. I've created this structure. Now I can imagine spiraling up and back on it. spiraling to the center and back out, back into the center. And I can create now a spiraling motion. This is somebody else who I studied a little bit with in New York and still teaching, I think. Master Neo I spoke of left for his back to go back to Taiwan at 101, I think he was. But this is William C.C. Chen, still teaches in New York. And he spoke about something, and I've always kept it as a reference. If you're looking at, I'm looking at the camera, and I want to direct my attention to the right, then I never go from the camera to the right. That would be just totally wrong. You always go the opposite way a little bit, and then you go there. The example he gave, which was, I think, a good one, if you have a dish towel and you have a container of water on the ground and you dip the dish towel in and you want to move it, you go the other way and then you come the way you're going. And I remember when I was studying calligraphy, and you start, if you're making a one in Chinese, go the opposite way a little bit with the brush, and then you come forward. In sword, it's concealing the edge, and then coming. In the Beijing Opera, if I'm talking to you and then I talk to somebody else, I go the other way first. It's an essential aspect of charging, of gathering energy in order to proceed with your next movement. So I wanted to share that.
Like gathering grace, gathering the chi, that you get the reciprocal energy to gather inertia, charge.
Right. What I've shown you all these tiny little models, so I thought I'd show you put together so that it hopefully makes a little more sense. I haven't been checking any feedback, but anyway.
We've been enjoying the models.
Okay, so this is a new one. Well, it's again forward, back. Green, blue for sky. Sunrise to sunset. But what I want to show you, I couldn't illustrate it other way, is I'm going to slip some panels on. So that you see how that simple forward, back, side to side becomes a diamond. Oops. So all of the panels go on and you have a diamond. One of the things I spoke to Dan about, I remember when we got together, and something that really intrigued me was when I do the exercises for a while, I would begin experiencing what I call, and that's why the name, caressing the facets of the diamond, because those facets, it's like a movement, which is hard to describe, spontaneously arose. I suspect this is connected to the 7 arrows. And I'm going to show in a bit a model, I think, to illustrate that. But does this clear to everybody that just going forward, back, side to side, and up and down creates a diamond? Yes, no?
Right, and in fact, that's how the 7 arrows are born. 3 of the pairs of axes of symmetry through a tetra are exactly those arrows there. And then the other 4 are perpendicular. So you have 3 pairs of symmetry axes, which are edge center pair, and 4 which are vertex face center pair. for a total of 7 arrows to the tetracube. And this is the start where you actually start making the diamond, which is the cube first. So you're locking yourself in the cube of space, and by embedding, becoming centripetal there, you're taking control, as in to say, making the center of gravity of the charge space. It's beautiful. And Lou, do you want to just briefly actually show us you doing the movement a little bit?
Oh, sure. Well, I don't know how much.
Back so we can see
Yeah, I'll
your
try and stay right.
Yeah.
I'll see the Dantan because you're not going to see very much movement. I mean, I can obviously exaggerate it. And the other thing I've found is that it's important to keep as much of yourself still as possible, particularly your head, so it's not moving. So if I'm making circles, then I'm making them like that. And I'm always trying to reduce it down so it's indistinguishable for anybody looking at it. I mean, they can't see it, or maybe they can. If they can, then it's a little bit too exaggerated. Obviously, you can do it like that, and you can do it isolating it more and more.
And just to review, to be clear, you've got 2 figure 8s which are perpendicular in one axis, and you do each one in both directions. So you've actually got 6 perpendicular figure 8s for the diamond, and each in both directions. So it's quite an extensive exercise.
But it only takes a couple of minutes to say, let me just show you. If I'm going to go, say, the dancer of that one, I've done it. I can do the dancer component this way. I can spiral back, spiral again, and then I can do the dreamer. I can do up and down, back. So in 3 minutes, I've gone through the exercise.
You get good at it, and that's what the Ananda people said too. And I was so impressed when I saw Lou. His dramatic proprioceptive skill, a juggle, for example, was just the beginning of the shamanic control of the space, the real gravity making.
Thanks, Dan. Let me oh. I wanted to share these models. They may help you understand. Since I have white and black, see white and black, then my planes are pretty much dictated by, well, gray in this case. And I chose a turquoise for this, well, which is the blue and the green. And then the red, yellow to red, an orange. So I have those planes set up, and it makes it easier for me to keep track of them, and also for creating some of the other models. Let me just break free for a second.
That one hanging by the Star Mother there that looks like a really cool model.
This is a model I made up. Actually, some of these models I made up yesterday. This one I'd had for a while, but improved on it. And I thought you might want to talk a little bit, Dan, about the importance of the golden mean, of the golden rectangle.
Those are 3 perpendicular golden rectangles, 3 perpendicular 8s, as Lou has been describing. And if the 8s are in a rectangle golden ratio, then they make precisely the rectangle, the outer edges become the icosa. So this is an introduction to the golden ratio embedding of the cube of space into icosahedodecad. Beautiful, beautiful model.
Oh, thanks, Dan. Yeah, I wanted to show that one.
Gorgeous.
And again, that's what the gray, orange, and turquoise are.
You know, your first slide there had a nice outline to begin with, Lou.
What I wanted to show you was something that I came upon maybe 12 years ago. It was an article in Scientific American, and a little note. And naturally, anytime I see something that mentions the octahedron, I become interested. And this was the...
Maybe if you zoom in and then scroll down.
Oh, let's see.
The zoom was on the bottom.
Oh, yeah, I got it. I remember now.
Yeah, that's right. Now scroll up. Now use your cursor to scroll up and just drag it. Click and yeah, there you go, up and down. Yeah. We go up first. Or...
Okay, so basically they discovered that a sphere with 6 smaller spheres placed inside, like the corners of a regular octahedron, enable them to create a frictionless bearing. And for quite a while, I've been thinking, well, it's really nice to do these figure eights, but in terms of like, well, if you want to look at the plane and you want to just do plane exercises, what you're left with is, I don't know, clover leafing, or you really can't do very much because you're coming to a point source. So I always had thought it would be nice to expand that 8 into one more cycle. And so when I looked at this and I looked into it, I think, let me find the image more deeply, I realized, oh wow, this is what I want to do. So I spent a bit of time on this, and here it is here. Here's a...
And now zoom out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So for the last several years, I've worked on this. In other words, and I made this model here of a movement where you're coming to the center. It changes the whole dynamic of it. It changes it in a way because you can go back to the center and hang out. Hang out instead of having a point center, you now have an object center. And then you can do your figure eights. And the beauty of this is that now, from a plane point of view, you get into much more beautiful mandala kind of movements. And so I'm going to bring a model I have over to show you how that works.
Do you see that as you're tracing the big circle here, the smaller circles are embedded like fractally, and it creates perfect smoothness and the perfect bearing, which is a regal bearing. A regal bearing implies the quality of grace, but a regal bearing is the quality of frictionless spin, where this smaller circle is embedded in fractal proportions to the bigger ones.
Not only that, but, well, I wasn't hooked up for a while, but anyway, I am back. What this sort of answered for me was, what did I see in the beginning when I saw all these fractal images coming, radiating? Anyway, it gave me a possible answer. So I made this model, and I have it controlled pretty directly from here.
Is the proportion of the size of those circles golden ratio?
No.
Probably cubic related.
Well, let me see if it works now. Yeah, now you can see it maybe.
Yeah, we can see it fine, Lou.
Do you see the lights?
Oh, I see the. Oh, okay. So So now you're going to trace the path with lights. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, the lights come here and then go here and come back. And you
Oh,
can go
I
around
see.
this way.
So that's the
As a
path you
next.
do with your Dantian.
Yes,
I
right.
see. So it's like embedding the little world inside the big world in the center.
And so what's nice, I find so nice about this is that when you can, well, I'll show you an example of one exercise just on the plane, say on the blackboard. Um,
Oh, I see. So then you go around to each
and
sequential
you're back
outer
to the
circle.
same point. Right. Or you can do the same thing. Let me see, and do a reverse. Anyway, this isn't a very good model for this.
That's pretty cool what you do with the lights, Lou. It's gorgeous.
Oh, thanks, Dan. Yeah, the platform, I made this with just contacts from Staples, for holding books together, papers together. But anyway, what I wanted to show was how important this was, at least in terms of my exercise and my development, is to now have this as a model instead of the original one. Well, the original one is great, and I still do it. But if I want to really explore more, then I do it with the. And it turns out there's a model I have here, which I don't know whether you can see it in my original.
It's like if you can enact the axis of spin, you can become the electron.
So here's the model. It turns out very close that if you want a reference to what the model, to how to do the exercise, you get 6 softballs and you put them around one hard ball. And there you have the 3-dimensional representation of what we're looking at on the screen.
Just rotate a little so we can see. Yes, turn it. Yeah, there, oh, there's, yeah, now we got to see the hard ball in the middle. So the ball in the middle is smaller.
Right. And it's the ratio, I think, is 1.3 something. Anyway, you can read the paper and it pretty much satisfies that requirement. And I thought, well, this is handy. If you wanted to think of a model of how much you're moving relative one to the other, then if you play any sports, you'll know the answer right away.
And when they say they're making the perfect bearing, what they mean is they're eliminating resistance to spin, which has profound spiritual meaning as well.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way. I mean, for me, I just, doing I'm trying to communicate the ideas and showing how to make the movement. Anyway, I wanted to share my my softball, hardball with you.
Lou, we think you have a regal bearing.
Oh, thank you.
It's probably because your last name is Debourbon.
Right. Must come
Very
from
royal.
somewhere. Also, once you have that, then you can nicely again, I don't know if you can see the lights going back around, tracing a spiral motion along that same system.
So very 3D landscape kind of.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, we're almost finished with perfect center.
And so that's the point, that this is how to make a perfect center, which is perfect still point, perfect compression point, perfect conjugate point, perfect fractal point, and that's the point of leverage on spin. That is the point.
This is a model I finished yesterday. I like it a lot because it shows, and it took me a while to find it actually, where is the diamond? Where is the octahedron within the Buckminster fullerene?
Wow.
And once you locate it, and you can sort of see it here. Can you see the diamond inside
I think that would be called rhombi-ecosa on the outside, which is basically truncated dodeca, which is the alternating dodeca penthex on the outside. So it's a variant of the dodeca-ecosa nest, which everyone knows the tetracube embeds in perfectly. So again, that'd be a 32-degree tilt.
So, that's what the buckyball is?
The buckyball is essentially dodeca-ecosa, and what you have there is a truncated dodeca, alternating hex and pent faces, which is a variant on dodeca-ecosa, rhombi-ecosa, which is also basic. It's related to the mirror of dodeca-ecosa.
Oh, okay. Because it's what I was finding with this is you can, again, once you establish your center, the diamond awareness in your center through the movement, then you can, at least I've been able to visualize myself within the buckyball. So this object. So I'm going from the diamond to the buckyball in terms of an awareness just from the movement.
And that's why they always said that the chin angle of the Sphinx was related to 32 degrees, supposedly, which is the precise angle at which you tilt up the tetracube to embed it in the dodecaedron. So it's a related idea. That's where you go from hex to pent, and that's an implosive maneuver, which supposedly you're only supposed to do when you're feeling shareable.
This enables you also, when you're looking at the buckyball, go back on here, is to locate the golden mean point on the diamond, and that corresponds to the pent view of the Buckminster fullerene. In other words, if I simply go vertically through one of the 12 pentagons, then I'm going to land on my diamond, one of the arms of the diamond,
Faces.
the golden mean point.
Lou, would you check your microphone cable? I think we're getting a little distortion. Just be sure your mic cable's all pushed in there.
Oh, okay.
Getting some kind of distortion. I don't know why in your voice. Maybe that's better now already. Check it.
Oh, okay. Maybe. Is that okay?
I don't know. Still getting a little distortion in your mic.
I don't see anything that's changed.
I have an idea, Lou. Why don't you just click mute your mic and then energize your mic again and just see if that.
Let's see what's my mic.
Yeah, I can do that.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I tried that.
I didn't. Still
Did
getting
that help?
So there's a bit of distortion on your mic there. Try to from here. Those mics are. One moment. Let's try this here. I disconnect. Bear with us 1 minute here. And then. Try your sound now, Lou.
Okay. How was that? Is that any better? Oh, maybe it's my microphone. Oh, it rolled up under my shirt. Maybe that's it.
Try unplugging your mic from your computer and replug it in.
Okay. Okay, I'm back in.
Is there a mic in your computer that's not it?
Yeah, let me try one more thing, Dan, and that'll be to disconnect this okay. How does that? Is that any better? Hello? No? Okay. Something may be wrong with this mic.
Let's try Lou. Let's try turning your video camera off and then on again. Turn your video camera and your mic off for a minute, and then back on.
Okay, so let's see, where are we now? This will be muting this, and then where's my camera? Oh, here. So turn it off. Let's turn.
That's good. And now Lou, try coming back in.
Okay. Let me start sharing. Does that help?
Do a test 1, 2, 3.
Test 1, 2, 3.
I think that is a bit better.
Oh, okay. Well, I can speak a little louder, or.
Yeah, I'll speak a little louder, but I think we got you now. You're better. Go ahead, please.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, let me finish this story. I think for me it's important because I've had a hard time when you do the diamond cube work to actually get into the dodekai kasa, into living form. But this way, each one of the pentagons, if you drive straight through that pentagon, then you'll intersect the arm of the octahedron at the golden mean point.
Yes.
And so,
which is the way tetracubes embed in dodecacosa. That's
okay.
That's well.
Yeah, but for me it was sort of a kind of
beautifully
an
done
awareness
that you had the kinesthetic to put that together. Well done.
Oh, thanks, Dan. All right, let me make this. I created this little adventure story for you. Hope it'll play out okay. Anyway, you can imagine, since it's Easter, Peter Rabbit running down to the beach, and he runs into the water, and wave hits him and knocks off his bathing suit. So he's really uncomfortable about stepping back onto the beach, but his friend, Julie, has a solution. She has a cardboard box for him. So when he comes back, he has this cardboard box now and has some straps, and so he feels comfortable. But what I want to point out, and he has diamond awareness, of course, is perpendicular XYZ, but he has something else. And that's the diagonal awareness. And so I'm going to actually put these through to show you how that works.
Would that be 3 arrows plus 4 arrows, total 7 arrows?
That's right. That's what we're getting at. We're getting at those 7 arrows. In other words, it's easier to think. The facets of the diamond is nice to think about, but it's easier to think about the diagonals of the cube, which of course are the facets of the diamond.
Mm-hmm. If you put the diagonals in, you get the 4 additional in addition to the 3 original.
Right. And so now you're going through the facets of the diamond, but you're also getting towards the 7 arrows. You're getting these arrows that you didn't have before.
And if you had a tetrahedron, which is a diagonal on each face of that cube, you'd see that those 7 arrows are also the exact 7 arrows of the axis of symmetry of the tetra, which is embedded in that cube. So it's the same thing.
Right. Right. It's for me a way of thinking about, well, I can see the forward, back, side to side, and I can see my diamond inside, but now I can also visualize these diagonal corners of the cube, which are going through the facets of the diamond.
That's really helpful, very appropriate. So the tetracube is in the center, but they had the 3 arrows. Now there's the other 4 arrows. It's all there. Beautifully done. Lou, great.
Oh, thanks, Dan.
I like the rabbit in the middle, too.
Would you like the rabbit?
Rabbit's great, yeah. So the rabbit then is like the emperor with no clothes or something. Right. This is your real clothing, is your what do they call it? The raiment. Your real garment is your plasma field.
It's right. Okay. So that was my little story.
Right.
Bringing the diamond.
If he carries his 7 arrows with him, he will never be naked.
There you go.
But they say that this is the story of the origin of Joseph's 7-color technicolor coat. The rainbow coat of Joseph in the Bible started right here, the 7 arrows.
So here's the model we've finally got to, which is your 7 arrows. Oops, one fell out.
Beautiful. You're the best model builder, Lou.
Oh, thanks, Dan.
Gorgeous. And I like the gold.
Yeah, I just painted that up a couple days ago. So since I know you've spoken of this so often, and I had to come about it to understand it, rather roundabout way of going through the diamond and the cube.
You did it kinesthetically.
Kinesthetically, yeah. To come to it.
Very nice.
So this again, going back to the model I showed you before, I just thought I'd close with it again. In other words, the diamond with the frictionless bearing inside of the diamond, inside of the fullerene.
Uh-huh. Interesting.
Well, that's
the Facets.
Yeah. Again, yeah, you can see the. So then I had a puzzle for, which was, I remember I was up in the countryside and I was playing around with my planes, right? And I said, well, that's really nice. I can do the blackboard, wash the window, do the blackboard. I can do the weaving or the playing the harp. And I can polish the table or wax the floor. But how do I go between them? I mean, I would stop one, practice this one, and then do this one, and then do the other. And that is when I discovered the tetrahedron. Not the tetrahedron, I'm sorry.
It's like the lissajou, the transitions.
The trefoil knot.
Trefoil. Ah, yes. Beautiful.
So let me, actually, I think I have it on my, I don't remember how I first discovered it, but once I did, I've spent really many years now just working on this trefoil.
Yeah, Lou is bringing up the slide here. That's what he's doing.
So I made this little piece of jewelry, which I don't know if you can see, but
You have a slide of it too, don't you, Lou?
yeah, I have it right here. Yeah.
Gorgeous. That's it. Lovely, lovely. That's a beautiful. You built that, right, Lou?
Yeah, that was one of my early models. I've made since then. I've graduated to, well, I haven't done recently, but made rings with left. So what I discovered when I saw this, I saw that, oh yes, I can actually work on the blackboard. I can go and then I can spend a little time or make one cycle onto the horizontal plane, and then I can finish off with a pitch, roll, and yaw. And I can do it in one graceful gesture.
So
It's
the
like
perfect transition between them makes it perfectly contiguous, which is to say perfectly graceful.
Yes. It's almost an exciting, when you move in space and you actually, and this is why I made the models, because it's still a little bit hard for me to follow the path, even with all this time. So I have a left hand and I have a right hand trefoil knot. They come and one does not get to the other.
It's lovely the way you've wrapped it around the diamond. And you have some other gorgeous slides of that trefoil as well, Lou.
Well, here's one of the first ones I did.
Oh, lovely. Oh, do that again. Oh, yes. Guys, I suggest you blow up Lou's video to full screen just to see how gorgeous that is. But that's 2 axes of the trefoil. Is that, no, that's 3?
3.
That's 3
yeah,
axes.
It's in this case, it's a right hand. Well, it's called the right hand knot.
Right.
And, oh, let me show the images. You were telling me how I can get that image that you sent to me. Was,
Oh, I forgot how last 2 images you sent?
Yeah.
Go to the upload thing on the bottom left there. And then it'll display what files are.
Oh, right, exactly. So I think
Yeah,
this might be it.
Click show on the one that you want.
Oops.
Yeah.
Wrong one.
Yes.
So I just got that.
Just tilt your head to the side here, guys, and Lou is just assembling his images.
This one came in a little askew.
Put some of these images in at the last minute. Oh, there you go. Oh, isn't that a beautiful? That's a good. Yes, and maybe just play with zooming in. You can zoom in on that now, Lou. Zoom in and scroll around. Yeah, that's it. Now scroll around. That's beautiful. Wow. Those things are quite elegant.
So this is
now just drag and scroll that. Oh, yes, yes.
You can sort of see it. And you can see the hearts. I don't know if you can see it.
Yes.
The 3 interlocking hearts.
Yes. And some profound connections.
Yeah,
go ahead. The concept of perfect flame on the torus, that the spiral on the torus, if you extended it, becomes the trefoil. Which is, and when you call it the perfect flame, what you mean is it's the perfect compressor for charge, and therefore how you put the flame in your aura, the flame in your heart is beautiful.
Yeah, here was at an exhibition that I had with these pieces, and I don't know if you can read it.
Knots. Yes.
I call well, they're Trinity knots. Yeah, yes. Also. Once I had the 2 knots made, and I made them out of copper tubing and all sorts of different things so that I could actually practice with them, because it's still takes a little bit of doing to get that movement right. But once you get that movement right, you have this feeling that you're moving in space in a sacred way. It really transformed my perception of space from just, I don't know, blah, to sacred. It's like, it's hard to
Yes.
describe. It's hard to
And
describe,
the
but
idea that the flame of plasma, you're assembling a bubble of charge, and that is your space. And so your graceful movement in it to assemble that space is the power of your ability to steer the tornado. That's what this is all about. Well said, Lou.
let me run and get a model here.
Lou,
Yeah.
Dylan is asking how this practice or movement differs from the frictionless bearing. With the frictionless bearing, you had a little circle inside the big circles. Are they essentially the same? That's what he's saying.
Right. But this is going between the three planes. It's like if there isn't frictionless bearing, it's really simply working one plane and then the other and then the third. It's like it doesn't, you're not, I don't know if I can describe it right, not transitioning between the three planes in that movement. You have the only way you can transition between three planes is through the trefoil knot. The trefoil knot, it turns out, there's a thing in mathematics called, which I don't really follow very clearly, but it's called SAW, SAW. And it's a self-avoiding walk. If you start out in space and you want to explore your space without tripping over yourself and get back to your starting point, and what you create is a trefoil knot. Trefoil knot's the only way to do it. And
Lou, could you repeat that looking at the camera and go slower? Your microphone was cutting out a bit. Just say that again slower.
Okay.
We were losing some of your sound there. It was so beautiful what you said.
Well, I thought I'd put these two images up, which are it's not too big. I can do what you said. Yeah, try another mic. I have another mic. I can actually hook up. But this is a left hand, a right hand, with a vesica Pisces at the golden point of the three arms of the trefoil knot.
Lou, but would you do an exercise? Just turn your camera and mic off and then on again. Let's see if we can bring because your sound is breaking up and then we lose your. Yeah, and then try turning it back on again, Lou. Now turn your mic on, Lou, again.
Does that work better?
Oh, I think we got you back. Yes. Now just repeat what you said before, slowly, please.
Oh, actually, let me give you an example of it.
About the trefoil, you said.
Right.
It was beautiful what you said.
Oh, I said basically that if you want to explore your space, it turns out that it's called a self-avoiding walk. You're always stepping out and trying to get back to your point of origin if you want. You want to explore the space, but you don't want to bump into yourself.
That's nice.
So what that does is it creates a trefoil knot is the answer. So let me show, hopefully I won't screw this up.
Self-avoiding walk where you come back to center, but you don't bump into yourself.
Right.
Sarah said
Here's,
something beautiful. Sarah said the circuit itself prevents your charge from bleeding. That is why you can feel the sacred, because your perception becomes more convergent. The recursion at the center gains inertia, and that is the perception. That's well said, Sarah.
yeah, that is very nice. Thanks, Sarah. The ones we're looking at are two trefoil knots. When you put them together, that's when the magic happens. In that other model I showed you, what I experience is, and I've experienced, is that if I take this off for now, if I actually trace the pattern of the trefoil knot, pair, the duo, together, then I'm actually going through all the gestural language of wonder, awe, and magic. It's like it's a movement that accesses your core. It's quite different from the centered movement that I've been talking about. It's
so beautiful, Lou. Would you do that again slowly? It's like the best priest around. If you wanted to send a blessing, here is Lou showing you.
Well, there are four ways. There are two ways to do it and two directions. So, trying to think what would be the best image to show. Well, I'll just do it so that you can see it. I had some gloves, but they're not ready. Any that would show it really well. So it's you're coming out, coming in, forming one heart, coming back around, forming the second heart, and back around to where you started before with the third heart. So this is the movement. And of course, there's the reverse of that. And then there's the other way. Instead of the right and the left, it's where you're looking at it from this way. Anyway, I made this specifically so that I could, when I was on a dance floor or anywhere, I could look down and say, aha, that's what it is. Because I just still, even to this day, have a hard time doing those four movements. But there are only four.
Show us it again. That hold that thing up close to the camera again that you're wearing.
Let me take this off.
I'd like to see if Terry is still with us. You know, Terry, in terms of ophanic angelic magic and the 5/7 spins of the Ophanum sigil of truth, this gives great meaning to the concept of casting a spell. Oh, that's nice, Lou. Thank you. Yes. So there it is, right there. And just turn that slowly. Yes, yes.
Yeah, let me put up one more.
Yeah, no, that's great. The camera just and just slightly further away from the camera because it's not focusing. Just a little bit further away. Yes, it'll focus. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but anyway, that's gorgeous, Lou. Really, very nice. The camera's focused on you and not it right now, but it's okay.
Oh, yeah.
But it's still beautiful. Still beautiful.
So that is with the right hand knot, by definition, right hand knot on the right and the left hand knot on the left. This is, so that movement has a heart coming in like that, another heart coming this way, and the third heart closing it up and coming back to the point. So you're going through each one of the loops.
Right. And you see how priestly that is, how graceful.
Well, the sensation then is like, wow. If that's what's overwhelmingly powerful to me is it looks cool and it is cool, but the sensation is so different from what we've been talking about, which is a centered awareness, pure centered awareness. This is something very, very different. It's not centered. It's the two coming together. It's the bifurcated, like I believe very strongly that the developmental imperative perhaps in all organic organisms may be this dual trefoil knot.
Well, the developmental imperative is to grow an aura, which eventually is a charge bubble, a plasma field, your aura, your ka, which becomes immortal. And it starts by learning the symmetry axes of spin to grow that charge. This is the seed for that. Perfect.
I wanted to show, well, let me finish the exercise. That's one way, right? And then, of course, there's the reverse.
Right.
So bring it all in, bring it in, passing it out, gathering it in. There's so many metaphors, so much association you have just from doing the movement that has to do with prayer and reverence and awe. Just totally.
Gathering charge, grace, and chi.
So when you turn it around, though, and do it the other way, this is the other choice, then it's a different movement. I mean, it's still the same. In a way, it has this beautiful aspect to it. But now you're coming, and I don't know, from a feeling point of view, I tend to like one way more than the other. I prefer the one with the left hand, as a matter of fact, the way it is now, from my point of view. So doing it this way. And I talk about it, when you look at it, you're either facing the ram or chasing the ram. In this case, you're chasing the ram. In my way of
which relates to the very old conversation about why is north and south magnetic flux, one is more centripetal than the other. In effect, one would be centripetal and one would be more centrifugal. Perhaps.
These are a couple of models. I was hoping to have a better red, white, and blue for the French audience, but this here is your trefoil knot with 24 cubes. Still not enough. There we go.
It's hard to see that. Just rotate it a little bit so we can kind of. So that's a knot of cubes.
That's a trefoil knot. In this case, it's a left-hand knot by definition. Let me get this other model and show you. Perhaps it makes it a little more clear if I
just turn that one a little bit more. Turn it a little more so. Yeah, get the 3D effect. It's hard to, but I see. So it's like turning inside out in 3 dimensions.
So basically, it's the same as this. This here is the left-hand trefoil knot going between the 3 planes. Right. And there you see it, the cubic form.
And move over so we see the rest of the gold one. Yeah. And then just rotate that a little bit rotate the gold one a little bit. Both, yes, and the gold one too. So, and then rotate it on the other axis a little bit. Just, yeah, that's it. That's great. That's amazing. It's gorgeous. So you made the metal one too.
This one, yeah, this was the last bronze I did. I had a adult ed class, but I made this one because it really clearly shows the 3 planes. You're hanging out, it's symmetrical, and you can see pretty clearly that you've covered your bases. You've covered this pitch, roll, and yaw.
And so yet you didn't bump into yourself coming back on yourself.
Not at all.
Right.
So when you look at the here's what happens when these come together. The same way that the bronze piece comes together, this is the way the cubic form of that comes together. It's the same as the model I was showing you. In other words, this one.
Right.
Now, if it's a little bit off, one way or the other, they lock together. They snap together and you're left with a vacant cube in the middle.
Perfect space.
Yeah. A very, very powerful
Metaphor.
thing. The trefoil knot. To me, it's magical. And so actually I've have little wire models I make up for people if they want. So another aspect of the trefoil is this. If you've gone to a Japanese restaurant and you've taken the chopstick paper and folded it up into a trefoil knot, you'll realize you're pentagoning your golden meaning.
Yeah, repenting to be saved.
Right. So the trefoil knot, in its collapsing form, goes through the golden mean. I mean, it's like it. I don't know how to describe it, but my feeling is that it has a very powerful connection.
Well, I think that the metaphor has been clear that when the tetracubic system embeds by rotation into the pent golden ratio system, that's what makes it infinitely recursive, and that's what makes the knot into a Gordian knot called fractal, and that's what creates the possibility of implosion, centripetal force, etc. So the metaphor is powerful and complete. And the flame letter system has always been associated with the perfect Gordian knot. And the perfect Gordian knot means there could be an infinite amount of information because it's infinite recursive as it compresses.
It's so great, Dan. Your way of communicating all this stuff.
Well, the Gordian knot is related to everything you're talking about. It's a gorgeous thing. And maybe you want to talk more about also what happened to you as you did these exercises.
Well, I thought I'd get everybody. I don't know if people are doing anything at home, if they're practicing there, but I thought I'd show them a model of a again, I don't know if this will show.
Oh, lovely lights.
Right. So let me see if I can get them to be somewhat symmetrical.
And up, just hold them up just a little bit more higher, just like in the camera.
Yeah, I didn't have them quite right.
Centered in it, yeah. Oh, the lights.
Let me just make it a little more symmetrical. I think we're in a box for quite a while, so, and they're not quite running the way they should, but anyway, it'll give you a feeling for how, and it's a little bit fast, so let me slow it down a little bit so you can actually follow the path.
It's like a conversation about how rhythmic traverse takes you to the next dimension, embedding of ritual, and really how electron orbitals work, which is how your aura also works.
What I found actually, and I have some other models, is that just to practice one trefoil knot is a good way to begin.
So to do that with your Dantian, that's the point.
Well, actually, what I found is that the best way to do this is with your sit bones.
With your hip bone. Oh, I think the hip bone has that cup shape in it.
Actually, the sit bones. In other words, the bone that you're sitting on is the one that, if you can trace the two patterns out with your sit bones or with your shoulders, In other words, this is a pure bifurcated kind of awareness movement that I guess I separated out from the Dantan, or at least I don't find it as appealing to me or as beneficial for improving my structural awareness and consciousness as if I do it while I'm focusing the left hand on the left sit bone and the right one on the right sit bone. And I practice actually with those sit bones or with those shoulders so that moving.
Lou, you have a great slide of the hip bone, don't you? Why don't you dig out the slide that goes with that? You think?
Oh, the pelvis one with the.
You have one that shows what do you call the pelvis in French?
That was one of the early things. Somebody brought me a skeleton.
Is it like the pelvis?
Yeah, this one here, I think is what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's it. Yes.
Okay, this was just yeah, right. It's actually a human skeleton, and I had put this wire version of the trefoil knots in it because people had pointed out when they looked at it, well, that reminds me of the pelvis, or it reminds me of the vertebra, and this is where I was trying to see if there was a connection or how that might work.
The perfect container for the charge. And Lou, Dylan is asking, do you do that sitting or standing?
Sitting, standing, or lying down, it doesn't matter. The sitting, yeah, you can do it while you're. It's a bifurcated movement. It's like I can move my. I can go through that trefoil knot with my right shoulder or my left shoulder, and if I sync them up, and I'm actually describing that pattern, only I'm doing it with my shoulders then it's so much more powerful. Or if I'm doing it with my sit bones, where I'm actually making my sit bones as opposed to my hips. You can do it with your hips, but your sit bones are actually describing that. Then you feel more of a core connection. It's almost like you can imagine your spine being extended out, and it's a puma tail. It's sort of like something that came to realize you can take that kind of awareness and generate a great deal of inner core strength or inner awareness.
Right. And our French culture is pointing out here, thank you, Allison and Valerie, about that the pelvis is called the basin or bassin, which means the base container for, in this case, charge. Petite bassin. Pelvis, yes.
Yeah, je ne savais pas ça.
Oui. Un petit peu, s'il vous plaît.
It wasn't something I knew about. So yeah, in answer to the question, do it sitting down or standing up, anytime. It's just a very, very strong movement. Let me see what else I have down the list here.
We should point out while you're looking here that the previous courses in this series with Sarah here use these 7 arrows to actually, if you visualize them accurately in sequence, to climb between dimensions, between layers, between etheric and astral, as it were, that you actually are ascending to the higher planes of existence. So there's a whole spiritual level of this that if you can enact these 7 arrows visually, and then you associate it with translating from past to future, for example, you can use this powerfully and shamanically by using this as a framework. That's what Sarah's been teaching in the 7 arrows courses.
Great. Is Sarah there? Oh, yeah. Hi, Sarah.
Sarah is with us, yes.
Let me show you a couple more models here.
And the pelvis there is the location of the stinger, and the Scorpios know a lot about that. They don't apologize for sting, they enjoy it, which is to say, where the compression comes to the focus.
I wanted to share a little bit about the triquetra. The
What's the
triquetra,
name for that?
the triquetra. It's actually a
Triquetra.
movement in poi now. It's what this is two. A triquetra is a trefoil knot, but it's sort of more flattened. So this is a left-hand trefoil knot on top of a right-hand one. But the triquetra is a very powerful symbol. And basically, it's a trefoil knot. You see it in Celtic art, and you see it, people talking about it. And in terms of poi movement, if you're doing poi, it's describing this trefoil knot in the air, called the triquetra.
How do you spell poi?
POI.
Poi, and that's a movement discipline.
Yeah, it's really one that's, as I say, started with the Maori and then went to Europe, and people do it with fire and, as an exercise, as a discipline.
There's also a beautiful potential for jewelry here. Amazing work.
Yeah, I've wanted to do that too, is, continued along that line, because when I'm driving along, I can hold this up over the steering wheel. And so I made these ultra tiny trefoil knots.
Wow.
Of course, my wife doesn't like it very much when I go through the routine while I'm driving down the road. Anyway, that's the same thing with this. You can just sort of follow that exercise anytime this way. I can just look at my finger and do it.
That's gorgeous, Lou. We have a team in Torino, Claudio, that does sacred geometry jewelry. I think he'd love to meet you.
Oh, it would be great. Yeah, I would love to talk to somebody about this. I want to share one with you, which is one that came out. I call it the Cobra Heart.
Oh.
It's actually two arms, on the right and the left.
Right.
Trefoil knot.
So it's
But
just
then
strip off the trefoil.
Yeah, just left with the...
And excerpts from the strip off the perfect knot is how the Ophiomenokian alphabet letters were derived with Darlene and Vincent as well. Note to Terry there. So, and the Ophiomenokian alphabet was basically how shamans see living plasma, and the index of those symmetry operations is sacred alphabet, which is physics of magic.
This is based on a picture of the hippocampus.
Oh yes, you have a slide of that.
Right. And so what I've done here, let's see, where is that?
Yeah, the slide's in there. I think it was one of the latter slides, wasn't it? Showing the hippocampus related to the trefoil. It's in there.
Yeah. Let me just see. Here it is.
It's amazing that the gland operations, yeah,
so
gorgeous.
If it works in the pelvis, and it works for the bifurcation of organism the logical way, they don't want to run into themselves and they want to express through the golden mean, and you've got a left and a right, then I think there's a connection perhaps that goes very deep and may even go be involved with the way we think, the way we are.
That's beautiful. And if we knew the function of the hippocampus in terms of orienting yourself in space, even steering your aura or plasma, and to seeing that an excerpt of the trefoil. That's beautiful. Right. And so you're charging that if you enact that move. By learning that symmetry, you're actually adding charge to your glands, which is your chakras.
So anyway, that's my idea about the and why I'm so excited by the trefoil knot. It's just you really have to do it to appreciate it, but it is a very empowering movement, and I think it's regenerative, restorative. Of course, it hasn't restored my lungs, which are pretty bad, but still, my ability to move and my ability to do things mechanically better than it's been. I even go, if I had the lung capacity to do it, I would play something they play around here. It's actually developed here, I think. It's called play sticks, where you just get a stick about 2 foot long. They make special ones, but smooth down, and you begin to toss it back and forth between people. And it's more complex in a way than a frisbee or a ball, because the stick is spinning and twisting. And so as you try and throw it so the person can catch it, and you get more and more involved that way. And to me, that's one of the most magical games. I just would love to be able to play it, but I get winded too quickly, so I don't do it. But it's a game you can create anywhere. It doesn't require you to do anything except to find a stick and then to begin to pass it between yourselves. And then you can pass 2 at once and that kind of thing. It's a wonderful, wonderful game. Free one.
It's like embedding in recursion in another way. Lou, Sarah is mentioning the connection between the symmetry of that trefoil hippocampus and the psychology of to give versus to receive, and also the act of giving birth. And Mary Beth is saying that this symmetry reminds of the whole shape of the female clitoris as well. So there's all kinds of psychological and emotional implications there. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, but one of the things that people told me when I created, this is the early model, really, this was my foundation piece. They said, wow, looks almost sensual. It has an aspect to it that's evocative of a great deal of emotion, perhaps, because of its, indicating sexual parts.
So there'd be an erotic aspect of this as well.
The erotic part, yeah. But they've said, yeah, that looks erotic to me, even though it's just the left and the right. This is why I took the bronze class, to be able to express, rather than just doing it with a tube, what happens when you actually come out and expand out. Sort of the feeling is of expansion out, contracting back to your point of contact, and back again. So that's why I made it this way.
Elegantly graceful. Yes, we should get the mold and make the casting and
right, make a lot of money, huh?
Really,
but thank you, Dan. Thank you, really. Appreciate it so much.
So Lou, if you look at the outline of your course in the first 2 pages there, how are we doing in the major outline? Have we covered the major? Only about 10 or 20 minutes left here.
I think we've covered it all. Let me go ahead and look at it.
Lou, take a look also at Dylan's latest question here in the chat window from Dylan. Dylan says, do the outward arcs of this dual trefoil correlate to the 8 facets of the diamond at all?
I don't, again, this, to answer your question, Dylan, I don't know. I mean, I put a diamond in, as you can see here, but it's sort of a force fit. It doesn't seem that it goes in right. I don't know what that space is. That space that's in the middle, when you see it the other way, it's an unusual space. Now, I don't know. To answer your question, in order for me to put the diamond in, I had to sort of put it in a way that it doesn't show that it's symmetrical about all the 8 facets. But maybe it is. I don't know.
The metaphor is the trefoil starts out with 3 perpendicular axes, which is kind of the hex view of the cube. But a cube has a hex view and an oct view, so they both are implied.
Oh, okay. Let me check my list of... Well, I can read it online, I guess. Oh, I have it here.
Yeah, but that's good. But maybe, Lou, if you bring up the first 2 slides, the first 2 slides of your PDF was the outline of your course, and just
right.
in the last 15 minutes, have we covered the major points? That's the review, sort of be a suggestion here.
Okay. Well, I hope we were supposed, let's see, to learn to inhabit the diamond cube and use it as our command and control center. That's really what it's all about. At least the center, I'm looking at perfect center now, is that you want to make that your command and control center. And for me, just breathing is a challenge. If I have to do anything, any physical exertion, extremely hard. So if I want to reach this glass, which is in front of me, if I'm doing it just from the point of view of my thinking, I'm going to use my hand, reach over here and grab this glass, as opposed to my Dantian saying, I want to reach that glass. Well, my Dantian has then made a little circle, and I've repositioned myself now so I'm balanced. Because my Dantian, that is my center of gravity. If I'm moving from my center of gravity, it makes simple sense that I'm going to be more efficient in the execution of any activity that I undertake. Anyway, that's my argument.
To do it gracefully.
And it turns out that that becomes the most graceful way you can get there. The most graceful way you can move if you're moving from your center. And the more your center becomes that command and control center, then the more enjoyment you can get out of life.
So in effect, every motion has a bit of that figure 8 in it, which is conserving spin and charge, and therefore grace and change.
Yeah. It's like, well, the complexity I don't think should end with the diamond or the cube. I think it could be more the movement of the 7s. In other words, you can think of the XY as the movement, but if you're simultaneously thinking about the diagonals through the corners of the cube and that rotational aspect of it, then the movement, what you're moving with is an awareness that goes beyond just a simple diamond.
That you start with the 3 pairs of arrows, which is the diamond, but then you add the other 4 arrows, which is the diagonals, and then you're aware of all the axes at once, and then you're really embedded in the cube of space, and you've taken control of your space.
Yeah, beautiful, Dan. Well, wish I could say it so well. So we explored the 3 planes, the pitch, roll, and yaw, the sagittal, the coronal, and the transverse. And then to understand the weaving of space, one of the great experiences I had was to go on some friends treated us to a cruise, and I ended up having a chance to swim with stingrays. This was out in the ocean, the cruise ship, when it was too choppy, but we found somebody who would take us out, and they took us out, even though it was very choppy water. And they had gone out, this Japanese woman had gone out for years and years and knew the stingrays by name almost. They would come, she would pick them up and hand you a stingray, a live stingray. And the sensation was so magical. It was like flying. You could feel that undulating of the arms. And it was like one of the most magical experiences I've ever had. It was like I could understand. It taught me so much in terms of movement and of flow.
Wow.
Like the magic carpet.
Beautiful. Wow.
So we gained a deep somatic understanding of the 7 axes of symmetry, I hope. 3 XYZs and the 6 corners and the 8 facets. We expanded the figure 8 through the frictionless bearing model, new perception of the representation of the octahedron, allowing for the development of more complex plane movement. That's the beauty of it. If you're sitting down and you want to, if all you've got is figure 8, but if you have the other one, then as I illustrated, you can make these really nice mandala-like exercises. And then you can come back and go the opposite way. You have all these, these nice moves in this one. So you have all this nice, it makes for a nicer exercise of movement. It expands your awareness of your space. So we focus on the golden mean location of the arms of the octahedron and the pentagonal, develop the heightened awareness of geometry of space and our center of gravity.
Lou, just to go, your point number D there, to say that in another way, that when the tetracube with the 7 arrows tilts by 32 degrees and embeds in dodeca ecosy, rotating into the 4th dimension, as it were, that's the first time it generates golden ratio. So the edge length of the dodeca that the cube embeds in is golden ratio to that cube. And hence, that is the point of fullerene, recursion, implosive. And so when you go from that hex to that pent, make golden ratio, that's when it becomes implosive. So, and that's also the metaphor in the tetrahedral fire breath when you need to have sorted your pure intentions, because don't implode until you're shareable, which is the same as saying don't try death or tantra or bliss until you're a perfectly shareable wave.
Okay. All right.
But that's just to say a little bit more about your point D. So then you were on point E, yes.
Yeah. Thanks, Dan. I mean, I really appreciate your going over that. And the E of developing a heightened awareness of the geometry of space and our center of gravity to conserve energy, improve balance, and increase sensitivity. I think we did that. I think that's...
Yeah, and it bears mentioning that the center of gravity is related to your sense of grounding, that if you did lose exercise and you're well grounded, your electrical relationship to the fractal of Earth is a center with reference to your center of gravity connecting to the Earth's center of gravity, which is a charge implosion path that adds inertia to you and your attention and your aura and your shamanic power to steer tornadoes. So it is all about centers of gravity, like the Sufi knowing that he's not pure unless he can do the spin without getting dizzy.
Wow, that was really pretty, Dan. Thank you. Wow.
Thank you.
You have such an elegant way of speaking, explaining these things. So thank you. So the last...
maybe you want to switch to the next page then, Lou?
Yeah.
The next? Yeah, that's good. Yes.
Okay, so perfect split. Examining the trefoil knot, the most elegant, efficient, and graceful way of moving between the 3 planes, we will come to understand its fundamental importance in nature. Using 3D LED models, we will become familiar with the 4 possible pathways and the many ways left and right can come together.
And we did see your lights, and your lights worked, Lou. It was great.
Okay. Hopefully they'll be better next time. These were... salvage them and they have some missing LEDs and they weren't synced right, but next time. So A was follow the path of the trefoil knot to instill an understanding of SAW, the self-avoiding walk, as the only way to explore space efficiently.
Beautiful, beautiful. It's like you're recurring to center, but you're not bumping into yourself at center, and which is related to the infinity walk as well. You can do infinity walk with groups, which heals dyslexia. It's a similar concept, the self-avoiding walk, or related to the concept of the perfect rhythmic traverse, which is an introduction to the physics of ritual and Sufi dance.
Wow, that's right. I hadn't thought about that, but that's true. So we trace the left and right knots as a physical exercise to increase sensitivity and awareness of space. The Celtic triquetra will emerge from flatland. You see the triquetra in stone way, and well, in many ways. But it's really if the way I represent the trefoil knot, which is hitting the 3 perpendicular planes. If you just imagine you squish it, then you've got your triquetra. Or what is more commonly called the triquetra. It's the same model. It's a different way of representing it.
Nicely put, nicely put. And just to address Dylan's question here, he says, to your knowledge, Dan, does our sun also function fractally as a center of gravity? We can gain implosive conjugation or entrain with it, or is it just the Earth? No, clearly, Dylan, the advanced shaman traces their center of gravity with exercises like Lou's, and then visualizes a wormhole to the Earth's center of gravity, and then that wormhole eventually connecting to the sun's center of gravity. And remember that in each case, the clairvoyant saw the Anu, the perfect slip knot, which is 7 spins outside and 5 spins inside, which is specifically what the shaman saw at the heart of the sun, and that is the human heart muscle, and that is the heart of hydrogen. So you see they all fit together, 7 spins outside, which is the tetracube, and the 5 spins inside is obviously the pentodeck. So it does, all of them create gravity with the same symmetry that Lou started with. So Lou, you were on number B or C then, weren't you?
C is fuse the knots, creating the Trinity duo model. You illustrate the most basic of heart shapes and open awareness of our bifurcated nature and the fundamental way organisms divide.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Fuse the knots, that would be a good bumper sticker too.
Fuse the knots. Yeah, right. Not refuse the knots, but fuse the knots. Get on board. Fuse your knots.
Perfect fusion, perfect embedding, perfect implosion, fuse the knots. It's all good.
Great. So D would be travel along the left and right pathways simultaneously to generate the natural gestures of wonder, awe, and reverence, allowing us to experience a deep regenerative healing force.
I'll just read that again since your voice broke up. D, travel along the left and right pathways simultaneously to generate the natural gestures of wonder, awe, and reverence, allowing us to experience a deep regenerative healing force. That's our buzzword here, regenerative healing force, from Therapy to Tai Chi. Perfect, Lou. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Dan. So I'll try E. Collapse the knots into their pentagonal golden mean form to show their connection with all of life.
So perfect. And perfect collapse is exactly what golden ratio fractality allows. So when the tetracubic system implodes into the golden ratio pent system, then you have the perfect collapse. And that is the connection with all of life, that implosion, fusion, collapsed knots. Nicely put, Lou. Your outline is wonderful.
Oh, thanks, Dan. So I guess the last part was the toys, tools, and models. So I hope people are at home playing around with their their limes or whatever works as something you can roll around in your hands. And tray spinning, that's a little trickier to do. The one thing I advise you against doing, though, is what a lot of pizza people and waiters do is they'll take a flat tray and they'll learn how to spin it. And I've met a lot of people who can spin. When you ask them to go the other direction or transfer from one end to the other, they sort of they know. So don't get trapped. The trap on all of this is to become enamored and enraptured by a particular movement. That's why every movement that I have is reverse. I have to reverse it right away. It's like hula hooping is a good example. I know hula hoopers who are really incredibly proficient going one way, and you ask them to go the other way, it's too hard to learn all that routine. So you've read at the beginning, you go left and then you go right, left, right, left, right. Make sure you're balanced. Otherwise, it'll be hard to catch up. So with the tray spinning, make sure you get those circles going, really perfect circles. Don't worry about going to the center, but get both hands to be able to do it, because the power of it comes when you're doing it simultaneously. And that's where you feel the energy, and that's where you get the most growth and development.
It's where the two opposing pine cones kiss noses, called conjugation, that you get the implosion. That's another way of, you need the opposing symmetries. And Lou, did you notice Ray Newman's comment here, Lou? He said he tried the figure eights. He tried the figure eights, but the trefoil will take a long time. He said, feeling spatially challenged. Could you just show a trefoil movement one more time, for very slowly, simply?
Oh, well, sure. I agree with him. That is, it's that's why I made these models, so I could do them. Okay, I'll take this one, which is my favorite, which is when you hold a loop of a knot, whether it's like when you're tying your shoes, do you cross over the left hand or do you cross over the right hand? If you cross over the left hand, by definition, it's called a left hand knot. So what I'm looking at here is a left hand knot. And really what you need to do, let's see what's the best. You can get some electrical wire or something you can bend into and make the knot for yourself. I think that's probably the best way to do it. And then you just practice imagining that you're traveling along, going, really you can think of the knot another way. And then imagine you're making a circle in a plane. I'm just making a circle on the blackboard. I'm going to break out of that blackboard. I'm going from flatland into uncharted territory, but I want to get home. Once I break through that blackboard and I want to get home, then the pathway home is the trefoil knot. Every time we break the plane, then the trefoil knot's the only way to get back. But in any way, as an exercise, it's just a matter of following. In this case, I'm going forward, I'm coming back, and I'm going through. And it doesn't matter which way I hold it, it's always the same. I mean, it's always, I don't know if that helps, Ray, but I mean, I've always had problems, like when I'm sitting right here and I'm saying, okay, I'm going to make a left-hand knot. Well, I still have a problem with describing it in space. So don't feel bad. I've been working at it for a lot of years.
The next time a New Age person says we need to get to the next dimension, think of Lou's trefoil.
Yeah, there is probably a better, although it doesn't have all the LEDs, you maybe can see it.
That's nice, yes. The perfect knot.
In this case, this is a right-hand knot.
And then when the knot is complete, which is the 3 axis of the tetracube, then you can embed it in the dodeca. It will make golden ratio, and then it will become a Gordian knot, implosive and fractal. But first, you got to get the cube organized.
The question maybe you can help me with. Let me get this here. As I understand, and I think there's a paper by a mathematician showing how you get, by folding and making the knot, you get a pentagon. But as I keep increasing the number of panels and make it thicker and thicker, it still seems to say, or even if I make it as a knot, when does it lose its connection to the golden mean, or does it? Is it independent? I mean, do you always end up coming that way when you're not? Well, is it always integrally? I don't know. I don't know if I have the right terminology, but I would think mathematically someone could. Well, when the
thread becomes a tube, the perfect tube, of course, will be the self-organizing torus, and the only way to make a perfect Mobius on the perfect self-organizing torus is the golden ratio spiral mapped on the torus, which is the flame letter, which is the perfect Mobius. So, and that actually on the torus makes exactly the 7-color map on the torus, which is perfect turning inside out. So, and that the 7 colors on the 7-color torus map, and we have the model here, I turn the camera on, co-define the 7 arrows of the tetra.
When I was in taking jewelry, that I had the idea that this was a Mobius. But if you make a Mobius out of a trefoil Mobius, you have one arm that's twisted. It's not symmetrical. In other words, it's never a Mobius. I mean, if you make it a Mobius, then it's no longer symmetrical.
Right.
Because you have to twist one of the arms. In other words, the pathway is always the same inside or outside on the trefoil knot.
Eventually, maybe the Klein bottle could be the solution to that problem.
Well, if you run across the information on that, would be great. Be curious to know if,
It's like
the
turning inside out in 1 dimension, turning inside out in 2 dimensions, and the perfect turning inside out in 3 dimensions, as it were.
Yeah.
We had a perfect slip knot here, Lou.
Yeah. Okay. Probably learning. It's probably like learning to trade commodities.
Well, there's a whole story about the stock market and golden ratio, and we wrote software on that one, and from the movie.
Oh. Cool. Does it work?
Well, it was called fractalpathways.com. You can read some of the story. We had a Dubai investor, and we wrote the software together, and had a PhD on it for years. And it did work, and the project is evolving, and Roger is still involved. It's a bit of a long story. Fractal Pathways.
Oh, cool.
Straight out of the pie. The reason it's important is because if there is a path out of chaos, it is the path of self-reference, which is what golden ratio optimizes. So you see that the path out of chaos, which is literally when the stock market becomes predictable. So the metaphor is appropriate.
Oh, I see. Well, I've certainly found, my experience has been in terms of the golden ratio and the magic of it, to seeing it so much more since we connected. I didn't have any of this until we connected long ago, and now I feel it in every in every living tree, and I can see it in every phyllotaxis and Fibonacci everywhere. Oh, I wanted to share with you. I have shared your idea with others, and thank you so much for it. Is how do you communicate to someone the golden mean, the golden ratio? And your story, which I've told often, is when you give someone a hug. If you do it in a 5/8, 5/8 is such a pleasant, because it's 6.25, close to 6.18. But so you squeeze someone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Anyway, you hit the golden mean point, and I tell people you can do that in a handshake too. When you shake someone's hand, you do the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you're sharing. Anyway, I wanted to mention that.
That's beautiful. Actually, thank you, Lou. But that original concept came from Sentics by Manfred Clynes, who showed that the shape of the touch, the squeeze that says "I love you," had a moment of max pressure. But I did the math to show that max pressure on his curve was 0.618. So what it means is when you squeeze someone to say "I love you," if the max pressure point is golden ratio, which is, like you say, about 5/8 into the event. So it's that max pressure, and that sets up a heterodyne cascade, which is infinite, implosive, and fractal, etc. So it is literally low phi, long wave phi ratio, the love touch. That all is at goldenmean.info/touch for those graphics. But thank you, Lou, for remembering that. It's wonderful. And
yeah,
Lou,
it's practical.
what I want to admire about you is that you took the kinesthetic of these moves and this Dantian and the figure eight and the juggling to actually make proprioception and juggling skill. I saw you evolve the most perfect center of gravity that I had seen, and I so much admired. When I saw you juggle as a result of these exercises, I thought, oh, he's finding the center of gravity.
Well, thanks, Dan. I still try and keep it up every once in a while. And matter of fact, I gave a workshop, wasn't last year before, at the International Jugglers Convention. And actually, one of my hula hoop teachers a few years back joined me there and showed how you could basically do a hula hoop and spin 2 trays. Actually, there was one fellow from Germany who could do this, and it was very impressive. Anyway, that's trying to expanding the skill set.
Yeah. And that's what we did in the Gurdjieff school. In the Gurdjieff school, the sacred gymnastic was learning more axes of symmetry. And Lou, you got younger too. Are you 29 years old yet, or?
I'm going. Yeah, right. Well, 2 years out of 80, and then I'll. Actually, a year and a half. Year and a half, I'll be 80.
So look at Lou there. He's almost 80, and he looks like a teenager. And you know why? Because he knows the trefoil.
He's got that inside trefoil knowledge.
That's it. Inside trefoil.
Right.
Well, that's wonderful. So then we've done more than 2 hours here. Did you, if you want to say anything in conclusion, or if there's any more questions?
No, I think I've run out. I think that's it. I mean, other than I thank you so much, Dan. Really, really, really appreciate this opportunity to put this stuff out.
Yes, and so we're going to share this video. The video will be at 7arrows.net. We'll put the link to 7arrows.net/OCTAYOGA.html, which is Lou's webpage we're doing for him. We can add to that anytime, Lou. And just to see the connection between, kinesthetically doing the 7 arrows, the figure eights on these axes, and the cube of space embedding, and then what Sarah's been teaching about, once those movements are integrated inside you, then you have the shamanic power to actually control the space. And Sarah showed she could actually take this and bring other people to their center of bliss by just taking the inertia that you gained in your own aura and embedding in someone else. Has implications for compassion and many things. But Lou is the pioneer of all this. And so thank you, Lou,
Dan.
very much.
Really, really, thank you so much.
It's been a blessing. Well, thank you. We'll stay in touch. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll put the notes at 7arrows.net. And Lou, maybe we'll put a contact for you on your website, your email there, so people can be in touch with you. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it'd be great. I'd love to hear back from people and, tell me how I could improve it, or how what they've discovered for, anything related to this. It'd be really, really helpful.
Mary Beth and Hayam, everyone is saying thank you, Lou Raven. Everyone's sending blessings to you, Lou. Really, thanks for being there. You're a hero. You carried this for so many years. And now it's a shareable wave.
It's out there now?
Yes.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay.
All right, I guess
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
You guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.